Hello Piyush, how are you?
Hi Ronnie, I'm doing good. How are you?
Yeah, I'm good too. So I'm sure everyone in front end already knows you, but can you just give a little bit introduction about yourself?
So hi everyone. Yeah, my name is Piyush, and you guys might have seen my YouTube channel called Roadside Coder. So I teach front-end related stuff on the channel, and recently I've started creating content around full stack as well. So in my core, I am a developer. I'm a full stack developer. I started as a front-end developer, but I've transitioned to being a full stack developer over time, and currently I'm working as a freelancer. So yeah, that is a little bit about me.
Great. So even I have personally seen your JavaScript interview playlist, and that actually helped me to crack Mintra's JavaScript interview. I would personally thank you for that playlist. I'm sure many of the viewers has already seen that JavaScript interview playlist.
Great, great. Always good to hear feedback on my content. You also create amazing content. Recently discovered your channel and we connected, right?
Yeah.
So, yeah, good
Right.
job.
Thank you so much. So my first question to you is that for someone who's just starting their journey into front end, right? So which core technologies they should start with as a beginner, or they might be in college. So which technology they should start with?
Yeah, I think just like everyone mentions, you need to know the basics of HTML, CSS, JavaScript, right?
Mhm.
Even though we have a ton of like tools which can help you build stuff, right?
Mhm.
But still, even though those tools exist, you cannot just fully rely on them, right? If you get stuck
Mhm.
inside of an like on an error or something like that, right? You still need your basics to go through them, right? So start with HTML, CSS, and make sure you build plenty of landing pages, plenty of UIs and stuff, right? So that is very important. Apart from that, I would recommend slowly transition towards vanilla JavaScript, and I would recommend ki you can use vanilla JavaScript in those original HTML CSS projects as well, right? And like if you want, you can refer to a lot of like free content as well that is already available on YouTube for learning, right? But this is the most crucial step. You're not supposed to skip this because I actually made this in like at the start, at the beginning of my journey, right? That I saw that okay, React is very trending, let's just learn React, right? So I picked up a tutorial and I couldn't understand anything, right? So it's very important to properly understand HTML, CSS, JS, and once you know these things, React will become way easier, right? And then you can probably start with React. So these right now these are the very core of front end development. Like React is no longer something that is considered very fancy, like React and that you're a uh, you know 5-star developer or something like that. Obviously these are like core technologies, so you need to be very good in these, and then probably you can what will make you a better developer is the ability of solving the problems and developing the real world applications, I would say, right?
Mhm.
And there are a lot of frameworks that are built on top of React, like for example Next.js as well. So definitely if you learn React and transition to frameworks like Next.js, that would be amazing. Like that would be great for your resume, and try to build projects on these.
Okay, right, exactly. Even I got a lot of questions that whether we should start with React.js or not. But as you mentioned, that we should first focus on the HTML, CSS, JavaScript, and then move
Yeah.
to React.js. So I think that's the correct way to go ahead in front end,
Yes, for sure.
right? So many of the developers also wonder like whether they should do a formal education, whether they should take the part of BTech and then go for the software engineer path, or whether they should go for a self-taught lessons. So what worked best for you in your journey?
Okay. I think the mix of both. Like if I talk about me, I have not done BTech, right? I've done BCA plus MCA, right? So these are also like very similar to BTech, and I would consider them kind of equal to BTech as well, right? But
Right.
these would, I would say, serve as kind of a catalyst in your journey, right? Even though they won't teach you something like web development or something directly, right? You might come across people or your peers who are very good in web development, right? Who who might motivate you or suggest you good things to get started while you're in the beginning of your journey, right? So definitely, I would suggest you can go for something like BCA or BTech, MCA, something, right? Because a lot of companies nowadays, even though hiring is changing a little bit, right? Even though people are considering skills over degrees, but definitely degrees do serve as a little bit of catalyst, right? In I would say shortlisting process, right? So I would say just go for BTech or BC or whatever, right? And try to tailor your journey accordingly, and try to learn from platforms like YouTube or Udemy or whatever bootcamp that you want to learn from, right? The most important thing is to be able to gain skills, right? During this process, you should not be someone who is unhireable by companies, even though you have degree or whatever you want to call it, right? So yeah, I think formal education is still important, considering you have appropriate skills for the job.
Exactly. So, as a fresher who has a front end developer interview in, let's say, 2 months, so what should they focus on more? They should focus on a DSA, or how much they should focus on the development part?
Okay.
Mhm.
Okay. Considering freshers, right now, I would say it's become very challenging for freshers as well, right?
Mhm.
Like if you consider interviews of 3 4 years ago, it's similar to what senior developers were being asked during that times. It's
Mhm.
equally as important for freshers to know all of those things today, right? As I mentioned, like frameworks like Next.js and all, it's very important as a fresher to be able to build applications in these frameworks, because you might be asked like you might be asked questions around these. If you have like projects inside of your resume, they might go through your projects and stuff. But if I talk about the most important things that you should be prepared for a front end interview in, right? So those can be definitely JavaScript, core JavaScript knowledge, right? So as you mentioned that I've created few videos on my channel, the videos that you are also creating on your channel, right? Around core JavaScript, for example, closures, hosting, like basic knowledge about functions or objects or probably promises and stuff, right? Asynchronous JavaScript. You need to know all of these things, right? So this is very important. Try to solve a lot of interview questions on it.
Mhm.
One thing that people ignore is the ability to be able to build apps in vanilla JavaScript, right? So vanilla JavaScript, even though you might not work on it directly inside of your company, but vanilla JavaScript is something that might be asked in the interviews, right? So there's something called as machine coding round, where they will ask you to build some app. It can be either in React.js or can be vanilla JavaScript. Most of the times they would give you a choice, right? So it can be something like to-do list app, or can be a tabs component that you see in most of the websites, right? FAQ component or accordion component, right? So I would say try to see around you the websites that you use on day-to-day basis, what types of UI they have. Can you replicate those UIs, right? If you are applying for a company, try to check if try to check the company's website. Try to see what UIs you can replicate inside of that website. Sometimes they might if I give you an example, there was this e-commerce company that asked me to replicate their EMI calculator component, right? I've created a video on this as well. So you never know, these things can be asked from you like in the JavaScript or machine coding interviews, right? Apart from that, definitely they can ask you questions around React, like what are hooks, how can you optimize certain things in React, right? Like function based component. Some older companies might ask you class based components as well, but that is very rare, right? So React has two patterns of building apps, right? Class based component, function based component, right? So these are the most important things. Now there are a few companies that might ask system design as well from freshers, right? In front end specifically, if I talk about it, right? So like this is a big topic, system design, obviously. So if I summarize it a little bit, system design contains like discussing how like high level structure of the app using flowcharts and stuff, right? Like how you can connect APIs, like discuss, like when we work on companies, right, we generally discuss the API structure with the backend team, right? So these are all the things that you need to discuss in a system design round. right? So yeah, I think that is a very basic structure of how a front end interview today looks like.
Exactly. Even before, in the interview, system design was not asked, but even now I'm hearing, I have taken a lot of mock interviews from the freshers. So they are actually saying that companies are asking system design on the fresher level as well. So yeah,
Yeah, for sure.
exactly. So
Mm.
in interviews, many people are saying that they are prepared well, they have prepared all the topics, but they are actually not able to explain that in an interview. So what do you think? Like how important is to, clearly structure and give the answer in an interview?
Mm. Okay, so I think one major mistake that a lot of freshers or even senior developers make is they do not ask clarifying questions, right? Like
Mhm.
they might have been given a problem, like let's say some complex problem, right?
Mhm.
So they would just start like jump into the problem directly and just start doing it without asking clarifying questions. Like this thing is actually very important in system design rounds as well. The very first step is requirement gathering, right? You have to ask a lot of questions on what exactly the interviewer is expecting from you, right?
Mhm.
So definitely you have to ask all of these questions. You have to identify the concepts that are going to be used, in answering this question, or working on that particular question. Or you have to, and obviously you won't be able to learn these things like from day one. You will fail a lot of interviews most probably, right? And then you will learn over time that what are the things that you lack and what are the things that you need to work on, right? So it's nothing bad about failing an interview. This is always a learning. You will always learn something from a particular interview. But yeah, you need to consider these things. You need to use appropriate code examples when you are navigating a question, right? You need to consider like edge cases. Like for example, if it's a DSA round, you need to consider the edge cases. This is very important, right? A lot of times we solve these questions and it will just get stuck in an infinite loop, and we won't be able to figure out the solution, right? So these are the things I think that you will learn over time, reusing components, right? Optimization techniques, all of these things.
Right. So asking the right questions can actually
Yes.
be the deciding factor in an interview, I'd say. Okay. But, this is fine. But
Yes.
people are saying that they are not getting the interview calls. So
Hmm.
what would you suggest that in this market, what are the different ways to stand out?
So one most important thing that you need to keep in mind, that in this market, referral is your best bet to get an interview, right? You have to do a lot of networking. That is very very important. If you are located in a, let's say, location like Bangalore or Gurgaon or Hyderabad, Pune, which where you can find a lot of meetups, like tech meetups as well, then definitely use this opportunity. You have to attend a lot of tech meetups, try to network with you might find a lot of founders in these types of tech events as well, right? So this is very important. You might get a referral there if you're not located in these geographical locations. So I would recommend, definitely make use of platforms like LinkedIn, Twitter, you know uh, email cold, like which we call as cold emailing, right? So cold emailing or cold reach out. So I think Twitter is a very good place for connecting with a lot of HRs or developers. A lot of them are active there, right? So definitely, I would encourage everyone watching to be active on Twitter. Try to post your learnings. Try to post what projects that you are building. Right? You never know who, like for example, if I tell you about me, I get a lot of client projects, like for example, US clients or UK clients, whatever, right? So I would need sometimes few developers to work on some components or whatever, right? Some small cases. So this is how I generally try to find people, how I try to hire people who are showing some what do you say, accountability on social media, on that they are building real projects and stuff, right? So it's much easier to find people these ways. A lot of founders can approach you through these platforms. So yeah, definitely make sure that you reach out to a lot of people. Try, if you're trying to apply to a particular company, try to reach out to at least 4 to 5 developers of that particular company. right? Not just like a lot of time people tell me that okay, I've done two cold emails, I haven't gotten a reply, right? So I tell them you have to do at least 50, 60, or probably 100 emails, then probably you'll get one single reply, right? Because people don't really have that much time to go through each and every email or message, right? So it's very important to be consistent while this process as well.
Exactly. Like, I think it's all a number game, right? How much people we reach out, and then eventually one will convert.
For sure. Yes.
Okay, so let's quickly do a rapid fire round. This will be about front end development. I just want to know what do you think about that. So, your favorite JavaScript framework?
Like that's a no-brainer. React, or you can say Next.js as well. That's a meta framework, but yeah, it's React at the end of the day.
Okay. One thing every front end developer should master.
JavaScript fundamentals, very important, as I already mentioned. Without this, you won't get much far.
Any book you would recommend for front end?
So I personally have not, gone through any books, these types of materials, right? But I have heard a lot about You Don't Know JavaScript, so definitely you can check it out.
Okay. One tip for standing out in a coding interview.
One tip for standing out in a coding interview, I would say confidence, right? Confidence is the key. A lot of times, if I consider two people, a lot of like both of them have equally done good in that particular interview, but the one with the better confidence and better soft skills is going to be preferred.
Exactly. So the soft skill parts again holds equal importance than coding in an interview setup, basically.
Yes, yes, for sure.
Right.
Also, you have to talk a lot during your interviews as well. Like when you're explaining some question, try
Mhm.
to constantly while you're working on a question, you have to talk about that question, right? Constantly, so that interviewer knows that you're not just mugging up things from probably some YouTube video or something, right? You actually know what you're doing.
Right, right, exactly. So you were a full-time engineer before, and you transitioned into YouTube, and eventually the full-time YouTube you were doing. So how was your journey?
Okay, so if I talk about YouTube, I always wanted to do YouTube since I was 17 or 18. I think ever since there was a geo boom in the country, right? A lot of YouTubers emerged. So I found this very fascinating. So I have tried a lot of things, different type of content, and I failed as well, right? I used to do some funny content and all of those things, right? Like during my BCA days, MCA days, and all, right? I built a channel with my cousin as well on diets and stuff. She's a dietitian, right? So we built a channel, we grew it to around 3 lakh something subscribers. But
Yeah.
still, I wanted to do something, like I wanted my face on the screen, right? Not someone else's. I wanted to build my own, like what I truly loved. And coding was something that I did love, right? So eventually, in 2021, or I think late 2020s, I started this channel.
Mhm.
And yeah, I started, like, this was very random. I started just sharing whatever I was learning during that time, because I was in the last year of my college, right?
Mhm.
So it, like, people started noticing it. And yeah, this is how I built a little bit of confidence to show my face on the screen and all those things. And yeah, that's how my journey started.
Okay. So when you started YouTube, did you face the problem of low views, or how did you consistently made that? I scrolled down at the bottom and saw your consistency. So what are your takes on that?
Okay, so yeah, definitely, low views is the part of the process. Again, like if you ask any YouTuber or any creator, they would tell you just one thing: consistency, right? So consistency is very important. Obviously, building content on trending topics is also very important, right? Recently, I created a video on AI agents on my channel that did pretty good, right? So yeah, so these are the things that you need to consider.
Mhm.
These, like, if you are on YouTube just to make money, or to get famous or something, if you have this mindset, I personally believe that you won't be able to go very far. You have to love the process. Like personally, even today, there might be some video that might not perform like I expected, right? But still, because I truly love doing this, right? So this is how I keep myself motivated. And obviously, once you are able to, like, you once you are in a good position, like in decent, like 5,000, some 10,000 subscribers range, I think people start showing some love to you. Then it obviously becomes a catalyst to motivate you in building more and more content. And
Right.
one more thing, this is a very important thing for, like, for developers, or for in any field actually, to build a personal brand, right? It will help you in your personal career as well, right? A lot of offers or a lot of freelance projects these days as well, I receive because of my personal brand or because of YouTube, right? So it's definitely very important.
At last, one advice you would give to the aspiring front end developers, like who are thinking to choose front end as their language moving forward. So,
Okay,
yeah.
so I would say again, build a very strong foundation in the fundamentals, right? Attend the networking events. Try to see what is currently trending in the market, right? What else? I think soft skills are very important, right? Soft skills are, I would say, more important than tech skills sometimes, right? So make sure that you, like, eventually when you network with more and more people, right, your soft skills also improve over time. So this is something that contribute on both sides. So soft skills is the number one thing that you need to work on, along with your technical skills. And yeah, I think post your learnings on social media. This will uh, help you get some accountability. And problem solving skills are also very important. Try to do some DSA and stuff. This might open your brain for for probably some new ways of thinking. Basically, like, for example, I recommend everyone to, like, if you're a front end developer, try to do DSA in JavaScript. A lot of people from their college days, they might be doing in C, Java, right? But when you do it in JavaScript, right, you will discover problem solving, like few things that you might not discover in your day-to-day development, right, while you're doing problem solving, right? So yeah, I think these are the things that people need to keep in mind moving forward in their career.
Right, right. So, yeah, this is it. Thanks a lot, Piyush, for actually coming up and giving advice to all the aspiring front-end developers.
It was my pleasure. Thank you so much, Rani, for inviting me.